Okay, I would like to welcome you to day 8 of our Python programming. In our last unit, or in our last class, we looked at functions. How we can create a function, how we can call it, etc. Today, we want to look at modules in Python. Specifically, we are going to cover what a module is, and of course, a module versus a package. How do we create a module? How do we use a module? This can be a module that you have created or a module that is existing already, which we can call inbuilt modules. And how to use the keywords as well as the from. The keyword as and the keyword from. Okay, so to get started, you may want, or you are required to create a folder, which will be day 8. In the past, we never used a folder. We are just having a file like day 2, day 3, etc. But today, because we are going to work with multiple files, so you need to have a folder. So in this case, I've created a folder using this function here. I've created a folder, and that's where we're going to be putting all our files. The file for the content is there, and of course I also have an empty file called main. So let's get started by looking at what a module is. In Python, when we are talking of a module, we are talking of course, not necessarily something unique to Python. This is something that might apply to other programming languages. So when we're talking of a module, we are talking of a library of code. By library of code, we are talking of something like a file, or we call it a file, that will have maybe common functions or functions that are related, that have got some commonalities in terms of their functions and everything. There might be functions that are in the same family. For example, we might have a module that have got functions that are doing some arithmetic calculations, or functions that are doing some trigonometry calculations. So all those things, cos, cosine, etc., we may want to put them into one library or into one file, all the functions that are able to do so. So we call that one a module. So you can call it a library of code, you can call it a function, or a composition of functions in a file that you intend to use in other parts of your program. Modules help us to come up with a more manageable code, because we can break down our codes into different functions, or what we call modules, according to what those pieces of code are actually trying to do. So according to the functions or requirements of our software, we may find some requirements which are somehow similar, and implementation of those requirements, we may wish to put them into one module, or what we call a file. And the other requirements which are also similar in nature may be in another module or another file. For example, if we take, for example, maybe a system which has got maybe students registration, anything to do with the student registration, we may have that one as a module. So registering a student, editing a student, or maybe deleting a student from the registration, etc. These can be some of the functions in that module. So we write them there, and wherever we want to use this, we'll be including that file. In most languages, the files that you want to use, or the modules you want to use, you import them in languages like C, C++, we use the hash include. But in languages such as Java and Python, we use import. So the keyword import is used. So you may have modules that are somehow related. And the modules that are related can be grouped into what we call packages. So if we are to look at the whole hierarchy, a function, we can consider that as a smallest block of code. And combinations of functions, we can have multiple functions or a number of functions which may form a module. So we can save them in a single file. So we can have a file maybe with 5 functions. They'll form a module. A number of modules that are somehow related may be placed in one folder, and we call this one a package. So a Python package is just a collection of modules. A collection of modules which are put in a single folder, and we can share this, or we can we can share this one with other people. And when they take that particular folder and include it in their program, it means they have included a package, and they can use the modules in that package. So we are going to demonstrate to you how to create a module. From what I have already said, creating a module, or what we call a module, is just a combination of things. It can be, of course, a combination of functions, it can be classes, but we have never talked about classes. So our discussion will be limited to functions. So it's a combination of functions. So let's create a file, and we're going to call it maybe we just give it sorry, I want a file, not a name. We are going to give it a name. Maybe for now we just say my module, or we just call it module 1. .py. So this is the module that you are creating, and this module can have multiple functions in it. I will just demonstrate something simple here. We're going to create a function here, which we call maybe function 1, and this one maybe will be a function that should add 2 numbers. So maybe I'll just call it sum. This function is going to receive 2 things. It will be receiving A and B, and it will just return A plus B. So that's the first function. We can create another function. Maybe this function is to get the average. It can be the average. Okay, I'll just call it AVG. So AVG of a list of values. In this case, maybe we're going to have average of 3 numbers. So it can return, okay, maybe we can do a proper thing here. So we can have something like sum is equal to A, well, let's just have average. The whole average is equal to, we have A plus B plus C, and divide by 3. So that's our average. And finally, we can return average. So we have 2 functions here, but I also have another piece of code, which it might not be necessarily a function. It can be any, maybe data structure. In this case, I may use maybe a dictionary, or you can have something like even a simple list. So whichever we want to have. So let me think of including a dictionary. So maybe this dictionary, let me just call it student. And this will have probably name. Let's just have name and maybe Ketiwe, and maybe class. Can give it any class, maybe form 1, maybe something like average. Can just have something like maybe average would do, or I'll just mix up things. Of course, GPA more appropriate for the secondary school, many universities, but I'll just say maybe GPA, and our GPA can be something like 3, maybe 3.5. Okay, so this is our module. Has got 3 important things: 2 functions and 1 dictionary. Okay, so that's how you define or you create a module. Collection of your code, and you are just saving it as a file somewhere. So the file in our case is called module1.py. Next thing to do is wherever you want to use this module, in this case we are going to use it here, then we need to import. You should know that the main and the module that we have, they are in the same folder, so we just import like this. So we say import module 1. Okay, so we have imported module 1. We can now start using things from that module 1. For example, if I wanted to use a function in there, which is sum, I can just come here and start using things that are there. For example, that one is called sum, but I'll need to specify the module name. Then I will need to specify the name of the function or the piece of code I want to use. You can see that it is able to recognize that I've defined these things. So I want to use this, and I can send maybe 10 and 20 to that. So I'm using my module. I've imported it, and I'm using a function called sum, and I'm able to send those 2 things. So we'll be able to run this program. Let's try to run this program. Remember, I'm in this folder of Day8. That's where my code is, and that's where I want to run this main function there, or the main file. So let me try to have ls. I'm here, ls, showing me everything, all the files here, including Day8, which is my folder. I can go into that folder by saying let me go into that folder, cd Day8. I'm gonna do ls again to list what is there. There are 3 files, content which are these ones, including main.py. Let me try to run now my main.py. So it's able to actually give me 20. So we are able to run this program, and it's able to use something from module 1. which is a function that we defined here. We are sending 10 and 20 and we are able to get 30. We may as well maybe print that which is there. I think we have a dictionary. We may want it to display just the whole dictionary if you want. So we may have something like module1.student. There's a student dictionary or a variable of student there. And let me try to run that one again and see what I'm getting. So this is my dictionary that I have there. So I'm able to use things from a module. Okay, with that said, we can now go to other things. We know how to create a module. We know how to use a module. Now we want to see how we can use these two keywords, starting with a keyword as. In here, we imported this and we've been using the name of the module and what we want to use from that particular file. Sometimes we may rename, instead of using the whole or the actual name of the module, we may rename it. So like in this case, we may say maybe our module, we want it to be known as M. So we'll say as M. So instead of having module 1 here, I'll just have M. Here instead of module 1, I'll just have M. So I'll just be using now M, which will be a representation of module 1, to do whatever we are doing before. Then try to run my program. Should be able to get the same results. So we are able to use those things. Okay. And finally, we want to look at the keyword from. If you have a module such as this, sometimes you may not want to import everything from the module. You may just be interested in something specific. So you may want to use the keyword from to just import that particular thing. So in your program, it means not the whole module will be available, but only that section that you have specified. In this case, let's demonstrate something. We want to just import a module or a portion that should be able to do average. If we come here, let me take off everything. So we, instead of just say import blah 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 blah, you start by saying from this module. In this case, from our module, which is module 1, we want to import something. So from that module, you don't want to import everything. We just want to import AVG. So we are only importing this part. It means we'll not be able to use sum, we'll not be able to use student. So I may want to get average. Okay, AVG, which is what I am importing. So I may want to have AVG, and because I've imported it direct, I will not have something like AVG dot something. No, it's already AVG that I've imported. So there will be no need to use the name of the module, like module1.avg. I've already imported just AVG. So when we want to use it, then we just go straight to AVG. So say AVG, then we'll send what we want, maybe 20, maybe 30, and 40. We want to get average of those things. So that's how you do it. Let me try to come here and run my program, and it's giving me the average of 30, which is 20, 30 and 40 is going to give us 90, and 90 divided by 3, we are going to get 30. So that's how you use these things. I've shown you how you can create a module, how you can use a module, how you can use a keyword as and a keyword from. You'll be using packages or modules again and again in Python. Some modules that are inbuilt modules. You may just want to import them and use them. Maybe you want to have something to do with the random numbers. You may want to import some modules that have got that implementation already. Maybe you want to use something related to time. There are modules already in Python. So you just need to import them. So there are many built-in modules and many other modules which we can include in our Python environment by downloading them and installing them on your computer as packages. But for now, this is the knowledge of how you can create your own. But as we go, more and more modules will be introduced that are already existing and we just need to use them.